All right, we're recording another episode of The Fiverr. This is Rick DeMint, one of my longest friends that we've had random social interactions with and social media interactions with. I met you in Seattle back in the early 2000s, right before we went and saw Stella and Eugene Merman.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so one of the most fascinating things that you have done is the Portoids. Am I saying that correctly, by the way?
No, it's Portroids.
Portroids.
Yeah, like
I'm terrible at pronouncing.
portraits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. Tell me about how you started that and what's the most unique experiences, because you're going on like 20 years of doing that.
Yeah, close, like 17 years now. Yeah, it's been a while. But actually, you were there for the first day of Portoids, I believe. So I started it. First, I'll just quickly explain what it is. Is I take Polaroid portraits primarily of celebrities, and I have them autograph them right after I take the shot. We can talk a little bit about how that's going to change now in this new world, but
yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing that for about 17 years. But as you mentioned, Seattle at the Stella show was the first time that I really took pictures, and I tested out the process on you as well as a couple of our other friends that were there that day. So you're one of like maybe the third or fourth Portroid in existence of now over 4,000 of them. So that's fun.
It's like it's my Google portrait, by the way. It's still one of my favorites, even though it's like 17 years old. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, so essentially, I just started randomly going. I'd go to events like the Stella Comedy Show, and then take pictures of the people afterwards, or before, whenever I ran into them, however I could run into them, and then started just going to different types of events. And then it built into something bigger, like ultimately I was doing red carpets. I was shooting backstage at charity events. I've just been, covering a bunch of things. Actually, you can maybe see in the background, maybe not, but there's like a picture of John Hamm blown up on my wall and Zach Galifianakis. Both of those I took at different years at this event called Podcastathon, which is like a 12-hour long comedy event that raises money for Smile Train, the charity. Mm-hmm. And so I take pictures backstage and we auction off the pictures after. And so then, so I don't actually own the originals of those anymore, but I had a gallery show, it must have been 6-7 years ago now. And they blew up a bunch of the pictures to put up in the gallery. And then we had a lot of the originals, up on the wall as well. And so then after the show, they just let me keep the ones they blew up. So it's like, all right, cool. I'll just hang them up around my desk at home. But it's just fun. So that's one of the things that I've been doing, and just kind of started my own website from that. And then I've pretty much now I just post things out on social media because that's the world we're in now. I put them up on my own website, but people don't go there as much as they do to like Instagram or even Facebook still, or Twitter even. But so primarily I shoot photos of celebrities, mostly when they're out doing press for an event. But it's been kind of crazy and kind of fun. And probably the weirdest thing for me is when someone that I'm taking a photo of knows who I am, because I'm just some dude that I try not to be like in there. Like I try to be so quick about it. Like, can I take a quick Polaroid? Will you sign it for me? Thank you so much. And then I try to disappear. Like, I don't want to take up someone's time. I usually tell them like, oh, I'm a big fan of this, or this.
Right.
And then just over time, I've just, like I mentioned, like built up this collection of probably over 4,000 pictures. And then, so it's become a thing unto itself. And now going into this new world where everyone's afraid to be kind of close to each other, I'm like, all right, well, what is this? Because right now, like, if I was going to take your picture, I would be, probably within 6 feet of you, take your picture, hand it to you, hover over you as you sign it, and it's like, oh, you might not want me to be that close to you for a little while now. Maybe, in 6-7 months, you'll be fine with that. But currently, I'm on hold for taking new Portroids of people. But yeah.
Interesting. How did you come up with this idea?
I don't remember. I mean, there are like so many different pieces of it that I can't even remember what the actual initial impetus was. But I would go to these comedy shows a lot. I would go different places, and I would never like. I'd want to say hi to the people, but I wouldn't have any reason to. I didn't necessarily want to just be like, "Hey, will you sign something for me?" or get a picture with them, which I would sometimes do. But at the same time, it's like, that's not. It's just kind of like a little. Back then, it was more awkward. Like now, people just throw their camera in your face and like selfie, and then that's
Right,
it.
right.
But back then, it was like, "Hey, will you take my picture?" And you'd hand the camera to someone. So I just thought, oh, it'd be kind of a cool way to get someone's attention, like with a Polaroid camera. And when I was a kid, we had one around the house, so it kind of pops in your head. Oh yeah, that's kind of a fun thing, and they could do something with it right away. So I bought a camera and didn't do anything with it for like 6 months before I ultimately took those first pictures that weekend. I was like, hey, this seems like a good time to go take pictures, some comedy people that I really like, and yeah. So that Seattle trip was the first time that I decided, hey, let's move forward with this. Yeah.
That was one of the most unique Seattle trips I've ever been on. It was
Yeah.
just so much fun because we went to, I forget the record shop over by,
Oh,
uh,
Scarecrow. Was it
yep, Scarecrow
the
Video.
DVD
Scarecrow
sign?
Video, yeah.
Scarecrow Video, yeah.
We saw that, and then we went to, shoot, it's been so long. It was like 2003.
Yeah,
So,
2003, October, because that's when I started this. Yeah, October 2003. Yeah, we went to Scarecrow. We like met all the guys there, and then that's where I took their pictures at Scarecrow. And then that place was jam packed, I remember. And it's kind of funny because there was a picture that was taken by their people, of like the whole group, like
yeah,
them sitting at the counter, and then the huge audience.
yeah.
And we're all standing in the front of that, like the bottom of the picture. So it's like, oh, that's kind
I
of fun to remember that we were all standing there. And I remember also seeing Reggie Watts was there and just going to meet them, but he was just someone that was in the like audience, like kind of in the line with
really,
them. Yeah. And I
oh, I
because
never knew that.
he's got the
Yeah.
big hair and all that stuff. And a friend of mine who lived in Seattle at the time, who was there with us, said, "Oh, you should take that guy's picture because he's pretty big in the music scene here." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be kind of cool." But like, I don't really know who he is yet. And then we saw him the next day, like walking down the street, and he's like, "That's the guy I wanted you to take a picture of." I was like,
Oh
"Oh,
my
you should," but I
gosh.
didn't. And then probably like 5 years later, I took his picture at Bumbershoot. And now he's
Yeah.
the band leader on James Corden, and he showed up in the Stella TV show, I think, or the Michael and Michael Have Issues TV show.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
that's kind of a cool connection that he was their fan and now he's kind of part of their world. And I thought that was
Oh,
cool.
that's cool.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for being part of my early 20s development
Oh, sure.
and
Yeah.
love of comedy too. So,
Happy to
because
be
we've
there.
been to a few comedy shows together. So,
Yes. Yeah. We also went in Denver and saw Stella again, I believe. Yeah.
funny story about that one. So, you guys kept shouting Danimal because that's when Matt and Nick
Yeah.
decided to nickname me Danimal,
Yeah. I
which I
remember.
was not a fan of,
No, you
but I
weren't.
had no control over
You
it.
don't have a say when someone else gives you a nickname that you don't like.
No, and especially when they just bust your balls about it. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, it was at the Bluebird, I think.
Yeah. Bluebird.
Yeah. And because you guys were shouting it, I got called up on stage
Yeah. Michael Showalter.
for like some game show thing. And I remember instead of a buzzer, Michael Showalter had a microphone, but I was like, I'm just gonna tap the microphone, and he totally dropped it, and then he got mad at me.
Yeah.
Then later on, some troll on the internet pretended to be me on Michael
Really?
Showalter's internet site and added a comment like, I really wish that I could be a smart intellectual living in New York. I was like, that's not me. I
Yeah.
would not do that because I wouldn't last. So, anyways, funny story.
Yeah, that's right. And I remember a quote from that night of Michael Showalter saying, "I fucking hate the Danimal." I think I only remember because I think I put it on my site somewhere. I was like, yeah, that's nice. Because you hated the Danimal also as a nickname, at least.
Oh man, I did, and it totally was not me.
Yeah.
Like a little shy me,
Yeah.
little tubby Dan me. Like I'm on stage.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right. Question number 2. You are in Brooklyn, New York
Yes.
proper. You just recently recovered from COVID.
Yeah.
You have been in lockdown for
2
50
months.
some days.
Yeah. Well, I think, let me think about it, because we were instructed to work from home probably mid-March. So going on 2 months now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's about the same. I know it happened before they did it in Colorado, where I'm at,
Yeah.
but right around the same time that New York did it was when my supervisor told me I could work from home.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, it's about the same time. Um, so first off, I'd be interested in hear about your experience with COVID, and I know anyone that watches this would be. The other thing is what have you done with self-care, being stuck in the house with your dog and your wife?
Yeah. So, first of all, the experience was, I'd been quarantined. I think I went into the city maybe twice for work. And then, this was prior to everyone having to wear a mask. But then I had a mask at work because they distributed them, like, hey, if you guys want them, we have them. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to start wearing this. And I just put it on and I've been wearing it since then. But, the trains were fairly empty at the time. When I went in, so I wasn't actually like face to face with anyone. So I was like, I'm someone who doesn't touch things in general. Like, not that I'm a germaphobe. I think germs are helpful to help build up our immune system,
Right, right.
but at the same time, like, I don't like to touch the subway pole, or so I try to do everything I can not to touch anything when I'm kind of interacting in the world. So I was like, I don't know how necessarily I caught the virus, though my boss and then like two of my bosses, my boss and then my grand boss, got it after. Like, one boss got it before I got it, another one got it after, and we hadn't interacted with each other in person in weeks. So it's just around in the city. So I started feeling like body aches was the first kind of real thing I noticed. And I was like, these are different than normal things. I haven't done anything that would physically make me feel weird, but like my joints were hurting. And I was like, that's kind of weird for me. And, you just kind of chalk that stuff up to whatever. Then
Right,
started getting a little sore throat, a slight cough. And I'm like, these are some of the symptoms, but maybe I'm somaticizing. Maybe I'm just kind of making myself sick. But then it was when I started having trouble breathing, I was like, oh, this could actually be this thing.
yeah.
And so, by that point, I'd already been contagious, but I'd been wearing a mask anytime I went out. But my wife and I were like, we live in the same house. We don't wear a mask in the house, but she works in healthcare. So she was in and out of her health system all the time. And we had a suspicion that maybe she had already had it, because she'd had like one day of symptoms and then nothing. So we're like,
Uh,
oh, okay, maybe I got it from her. Maybe I got it from her working in the health system, and then she's never had any symptoms since then. They go all through all the precautions in her health system and all that. But so, the big thing was that I couldn't breathe. So I couldn't take a full breath. I think I was able to get maybe like, like half a lung full. And I was like, this isn't great. This is something that I've never had before. And so about a week into that, I started improving. I was like, okay, I can get like 3/4 of a lung. I was doing those breathing exercises that were out in the world. You take the 5 deep breath, like as
right,
deep
right.
as you can, you hold it, then you push it out, and then you do like a
Yeah.
big cough on the 6th one. I was doing all that stuff to try to build up my lung capacity to make sure that that it was staying open. And then I was like, oh, I'm actually feeling a little better. I can get like 3/4 of a lung full. So I'm on the mend, and I had like a headache, like a really bad headache, like a bunch of the symptoms. And I was like, oh, this isn't great. And then I had one night in particular where I was breathing okay, but suddenly I felt like I couldn't get any oxygen. Like I wasn't, like my body wasn't registering as it should. And so then I thought, oh, this is bad news. Like this is, and so then like I had kind of a really troubled night that night. And then the next day I was like, I talked to my wife. I was like, I need to talk to the doctor. And so that's when I contacted finally, a week into this thing, or maybe like 5-6 days into this thing. And then from there, they prescribed, some medicine in case it wasn't a viral infection, in case it was, just like a bacteria or something. But the antibiotics didn't really help. So then I started doing, breathing exercises. I started using this thing to get
it's one of the most amazing things ever.
Yeah. So the first few days I could barely get the red one to move, I was like, this isn't great, and then finally I could get the red one, but the yellow one would just stay put, like nothing at all. And then finally, like, I could get the yellow one. I was like, all right, no, sorry, whichever way it goes. Yeah, that's the first one. And then finally, like, I got the green one to move like a week and a half in, and I was like, all right, my lungs are able to fill up all the way now, and I started, like, the symptoms kind of just faded off. So I think I had it pretty lucky. Like my symptoms were pretty light compared to, a lot of people that are suffering from this. And so, I was just like, all right, I just need to take it easy a little bit. And then since then, I haven't really had any issues. I also had like an inhaler to try to open my lungs from the doctor. But, mostly I've been trying to, get out and breathe fresh air when I can.
Right.
It's hard when you have to wear a mask, but we'll try to go, we'll walk around our neighborhood. And then, like, if we're on a block with no other people, we'll like pull our mask down, like, oh yeah, get some air in. Like I mentioned, we went on a bike ride last weekend, and we're planning to go on one today. Just we'll ride into the city. We'll wear a mask as we need to. Though, for us at this point, it's like we're feeling healthy, and it's possible we have nothing left in us of this, but at the same time, like, who knows? So we're doing what we're supposed to do, even if our minds are like, we're fine, we're not going to spread this, we're not going to do this and that. We try to follow the social construct of, like, okay, we're not protecting others. At the same time, our minds are like, yes, but we need to also start getting the world functioning again where we can. And for my own self-care and my wife's self-care, we like try to go out and try to live where we can. I think you probably know this about me. We're people who, my wife and I, who travel all the time.
Yeah.
We go, wherever we can, whenever we can. You got your Pixar shirt on there. We like go to Disney World all the time.
I wore it for you.
Yeah, nice. We had a trip planned to Disney World the weekend. Actually, we had a cruise planned the week that the world shut down. So the week before, we're like, we can't do that. We can't go, and so we canceled it, and then they canceled it right after.
Right.
And like, we were supposed to go to Disney World the weekend before our cruise, and that was the last weekend they were open, and we're like, yeah, we have to cancel. Like, we can't go because we don't know what's going to happen. And now we're in the mindset of like, when are things going to open again? Like, we're ready to get back into the world, and just kind of like, whatever waiver we have to sign that, we know we'll be fine. People that might not be fine, we understand, like, we have to be cautious and be careful for them, and they need to be careful for themselves. But at the same time, we're a little bit antsy as people who kind of want to be out doing things. We've canceled, not that this, like, our case of having to cancel fun things we were going to do is so much less of a burden than it is for everyone who, has real issues. Like, oh, I don't have a job. Like, we're both working still, which is great, which is a real benefit to us.
Yeah.
And there are people, in our families who aren't, and people that are, that we know who aren't working now, that are like having to file for unemployment or trying to get, jobs. Like, my nephew got a job at a grocery store, like, just because it's like, that's what's available. That's where you can go do, but other people, it's like, are having issues, like with health issues, as well as just financial issues with the world being shut down, so our complaints of like, oh, the play we were supposed to go to is postponed or canceled, or, we were supposed to go, we canceled like 4 or 5 trips, which is, for us who live for, like, we work hard, and then we're like, oh, we want to go out and enjoy our weekend. Like, we do a weekend trip here and there. It's, it's a little tough. So to make up for it, we are trying to like go out and walk around the neighborhood. we're trying to do virtual game nights. We're trying to do whatever we can to like stay in contact with people, like what you're doing. You're like, I'm going to reach out to people and I'm going to do these interviews. Like you and I haven't seen each other in I don't know how long. Like I haven't lived in Colorado in 8 years or something like that, and I probably haven't seen you since like before then, which is
Yeah, I
crazy.
think so. Yeah.
But we stay in contact through social media, so like we're still like familiar with what each other are doing, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that's like, oh yeah, hey, I'm gonna reach out, I'm gonna like kind of contact people and see what's going on. So there's a little bit more of that for the self-care.
Well, so, oh man, there's a couple different lines that I want to talk to you about. This is why I call it the Fiverr and some now.
Yeah.
One of the cool things is I see that you are social media friends with my good friend Makisha.
Yeah, we met because of you, actually, because you had posted about Portroids, and then she's like, oh, I like this project, and then like you just kind of became Facebook friends from that.
So it's just amazing. Like all these connections can happen. It's actually her husband is the motivational speaker, business advisor.
Yeah.
Out in Vancouver that I interviewed a few nights ago.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for you guys actually to meet. You guys would love each other.
Yeah, no, I've never met. It's like these people have never met. It's like,
right?
Yeah.
So, the other interesting thing about planning trips. Alice and I had planned a trip to Vegas, but health-wise, I wasn't feeling well. Mm-hmm. I actually wonder if I got COVID earlier. Everyone tells me that I didn't, but I had problems breathing.
Yeah.
A lot of fatigue. It took me about 2 months to get better. Who knows?
Approximately when was that?
So it started October of last year, but now all the research is showing that it might have shown up earlier. And it was just out of nowhere. Anyways, or it could just be that I got something else. The interesting thing is the doctors just told me I was fat.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's sweet because, I have lost 100 pounds in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
So I'm down to like 245 now.
Yeah.
I know, I was up to 320 at one time. I was a big dude. But yeah, and then I got an ear infection in February, went on antibiotics, which again, I actually think there's probably an infection there because I know the biotics wouldn't deal with a virus. But but after that, and ever since I've been sequestered at home, healthiest I've ever been.
Interesting, yeah. Like we're going a bit stir crazy ourselves. Just like I mentioned, like being at home, it just feels like a bit of jail with the effect of like we can still go out, like we still have our freedoms, but just a little stir crazy, not so we're having a little bit of the opposite effect of just like, please let us breathe. But
I hear you. So we had to cancel one trip to Vegas, and which was fine. We went out to Manitou Springs. I don't know if you guys have been down to Manitou.
No.
It's just outside of Colorado Springs.
Okay.
There's this really cool. It's called the Cliff House. It's this old hotel. You pay for parking, and then you can just walk in through this like tiny town that's like a hippie version of Estes.
Okay.
It was great. So right before everything got locked down, it was the very end of February. We got to go do that. So, but then about 2 weeks in, I was like, Allison, maybe we should go find a hotel. We could go stay at a hotel. She's like, Dan, we're in a pandemic. You can't leave. I was like, oh yeah, that's wise. But I want to.
Right, yeah.
So anyways, we're planning on, hopefully if it opens and everything's safe and we're all healthy, to go to Universal at the end of August.
Okay. So, yeah,
we'll see what happens.
We're waiting for things, like I guess Shanghai Disneyland just reopened today.
Yeah.
We're gonna see how that goes, see what they do with their Disney parks, because like, we're annual pass holders for both like California and Florida Disney parks, and we just try to go because of that. We can like, if we find a cheap flight, we can go down there for the weekend and just catch, or go out to California, do some other stuff, and then hit those parks. And then it's like, oh, they're closed, and and why they're closed, but at the same time, it's like, let's see how we can reopen as safely as possible, but let's step it up, and see how things can work.
It's fascinating talking to the people that, like myself, that struggle with. I have a lot of empathy. I worked in the emergency department at both Poudre Valley and Fort Collins, MCR here in Loveland, for about 10 years. And then I'm like, well, I'm worried about those people. However, I like to go on some dark rides.
Yeah, I'd love to.
And so there's this weird cognitive dissonance.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yes, I am. I'm back to normal health, it feels.
Good. And as soon as we can come out, we will come out to New York. Allison's been out there. I haven't been out there since like 2004. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, New York's great. I hope they open soon. The streets are empty right now. It's kind of weird. Like the day I went into work a month, like a little over a month ago, as I mentioned, there was like hardly anyone on the train when I went, though there's been a homeless issue on the train lately. But the day I went, there was hardly anyone on there. And then just walking down the streets, there's like no cars, no people. It was just weird. It was kind of like after Hurricane Sandy, we were here for that, and the streets were like this. But that was 3-4 days, or a week, and this is just months of it. It's weird. It's a little, and then going into the office and like all the lights are out, and you're just like, oh, this is kind of, and then like one other person on the floor, and they're like, hey, someone's here. It's like, it's just a bit odd. But yeah, hopefully, theaters open. But everyone I think has this concern. There will be a concern of like whoever the first thing to open, where there's a group that gathers, they're going to get slammed by everyone. Like, you're going to have people that are going to swarm to that, but then they're going to have people that, swarm to say, like, to shame them for doing it. But I don't know how we're going to, I think people are trying to figure out a way to inch into it, and everyone's doing these virtual things. Like that's kind of one of the cool things is like, hey, we're getting all these virtual reunions and virtual concerts and this and that. It's like, yes, but I want to see something live. I want to see live music again. I want to see, there's just something about being in the room when something's being performed it's hard to miss out on that. And I understand why we're missing out on it. And we watch the news every day like everyone, and we're following the story, we're following the curves. And again, my wife's she's in the health system every day. So like we're hearing the frontline stories all the time, and we're seeing it. And so it's just like, okay, we see how things are. Let's find a way to push forward without risking, the health of ourselves or others. And so it's a tricky world right now.
Well, we haven't seen anything like this since like the Spanish flu pandemic that started in Kansas. So, fair enough. All right, this is my wife's question, because initially when I started this, my wife was the one that forced me to do it because I was nervous about it.
Yeah.
And it's fun because I get super nervous right beforehand. I absolutely love it right now, and then I'll be totally jazzed for like the next 5 hours. Like,
all right, good.
Oh, that was great. It was great talking to Rick. We got to talk about this. I didn't know that Michael Showalter hated Danimal.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, sure.
So it's really funny to view my process, especially as a therapist, because there's outside therapists. Well, this is the problem with the green screen.
Yeah, it's funny because my wife and Erica and I were just talking about that. Like, it's like you said something that's making your future self not exist.
I'm in the Matrix. Anyways, outside Dan is always like, hey, look, see, this is what you processed. And inside Dan's like, I'm processing that now. Shut up.
Yeah.
Anyways, so this is my wife's question that she helped me develop. And it's actually a really good question. What is something that people don't know about you or would be surprised to know about you?
Well, I think the face that I put out I mean, first of all, people don't know me anyway. Second, what they do know about me is that I like take Polaroid photos of celebrities, or, you know, I have Muppets in my house, like silly things, you know, but a lot of people don't know that my day job is like in finance, that I work like on the back end. Well, I work at NYU Health, which maybe I shouldn't publicly announce, but I do. I work in a health system, let's say. You don't have to edit anything, but I work in the finance department, you know, and I work doing just treasury work. I work with banks, which is completely opposite to my personality. But at work, I'm a very serious guy. I'm doing, you know, whatever. But in my personal life, I just like to have fun. I like to be, you know, silly and do whatever. And so it's one of those weird things that there's like a dichotomy of my professional, how I make money versus kind of who I actually am. And I don't tend to mix the two, which is a weird thing. And I don't know why that's the case. It's something that has been commented to me, like, why aren't you more fun at work? You know, not by people at work, but by people that know me. Right. It's just like, you know, they don't, it doesn't relate to that. You know, it's a separate world. But yeah, so that may be something that people don't know about me.
Do you enjoy working in finance?
Not really, no. I can do it well. I can do, you know, I enjoy parts of it, like when I get to do like projects and get to create something that we're currently not doing. So like the creative part of it, but doing the day-to-day finance part, it's not my passion. So I'm just kind of like, all right, I can do this. I have the mind for it, so it works. But that's why I think I separated. I don't want to, and maybe I don't want to like it, you know? Maybe that's why I don't make it fun, because I don't want to enjoy that piece of it. But I don't know. No, it's not my first choice, but it's what my world is. And, you know, yeah, no, so let's stick with that. Yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. You're going back to school, aren't you?
Yeah, so that's kind of where I was going to go when I was saying, yeah, it's not something I love, but now I'm currently getting my MBA, like my business degree at NYU, which is, it just doubles down on this other thing. The funny part is, like, I do really enjoy that because I like the learning environment, you know. I like being in the class. I like kind of learning something new. It stimulates my mind, and then it makes me like, oh, that makes me want to learn this other thing that maybe I hadn't thought of before. And it makes me put pieces together that I maybe hadn't done before. I actually just finished my spring semester yesterday. I finished the final. So it's like, I've got the summer off. But it's been weird the past 2 months because we've been doing online classes. I've just been doing night classes in general as is, because I'm full-time job. But yeah, I've just been doing night classes and they've gone online. And so it hasn't been as fulfilling. It's been like, oh, let me log in now and watch a lecture. It's like I'm just learning on my own versus being in a class environment where you're interacting with people and you're all kind of in it together. We do these Zoom meetings and like everyone shows up on the, you know, on the screen, but it's just like lecture notes that are popping up on the screen and like a whiteboard type of thing with an iPad. It's just like, oh, you know, this is sort of, you know, it's not as fun as it was before when I was going to class, you know, and on the NYU campus, and I'm doing, you know, school, and it's great. But
so it sounds like you miss the energy of being around other people. And
yeah, definitely. You know, and it's kind of, it's funny because here, you know, we're when you go out for a walk or you go, like, there are people out still. There are some people you can tell are afraid that they're out because they'll like jump out of the way if you're walking toward them. And other people, it's just like they're not paying you any mind, but like everyone's got their masks on. It's just like we're not interacting, we're not doing the social connection that we used to. Like even people that we know from the neighborhood, you know, like there are people in our building that also have dogs, so we see them out walking, we used to like stop and talk and let our dogs interact. And now it's like, oh, hey, like from far away, and then it zooms away. And it's like, oh, we don't even get to like chat with them. And, you know, like somewhat of a controversial view is like, we're working toward herd immunity, but we're not allowed to interact as a herd in order to build that up, because what's going to create the immunity is too dangerous for some people, so
Yeah.
it's tough. Like, I fear that as a result, we'll weaken our immune system to other things that normally we'd be strong to, because we're not interacting with those germs, with other people's, breath,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
not necessarily, making out with them, but at the same time, like, we're not like talking to them and just exchanging air in a way that would build up our system. And so we're like, are we harming ourselves by being locked in and closed off, but it's hard to know. We have to trust what doctors say, but at the same time, it's just like, dang, man, I want to get out and live.
Right.
So,
There's a certain, I think one of the interesting things about this is there's a certain danger, because I deal with a lot of panic attacks, which I never dealt with
yeah,
until this. I keep telling my wife that I missed the depression.
yeah,
To steal a quote from Gary Goldman. But yeah, I missed depression. Depression was great. I could sleep, just curl up in a blanket. But now I can't sleep. I worry, like, yeah, am I doing what's right? Am I avoiding things that I shouldn't avoid?
right.
Just all of these questions. And I think that's a lot of kind of the existential stuff that all of us are going through. And by all of us, not just as a country, as an entire world.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. The whole world is kind of on the same, course with this thing.
Yeah, they keep saying we've never seen anything like this since World War II. Well, at least with World War II, like, we knew the Nazis were enemies.
Right. Yeah.
Like, this is like this little ball that they call the coronavirus, and they call it Corona because it has a little halo, and it's a little evil halo.
Yeah.
So, anyways, all right, number 4. We'll get back to one fun one and then one serious one, and I'll tell you the last one is one of the things that I've actually learned from being stuck in the house and being forced to being super introspective because I'm extroverted. So if I get stuck in my head, then I start thinking about things.
Yeah.
But first off, all right, so what have you binged, read, listened to, podcast, anything like that? What are the things that you have done while you've been in isolation?
It's been tricky, because you think, like, it's funny because before all this, before we were stuck in our homes for months on end, I was thinking I could really do with a week at home just to do the things I need to do. Like, my website, as I was mentioning earlier, like, my Portroids website hasn't been fully updated in forever. Like, I'll update little parts of it here and there, but I don't do like update all the different pieces of it that need to be updated on an ongoing basis. So I was like, oh, it'd be great to nail that thing. It would be great to read a book. Like, I've been working on a novel for a couple of years. Like, oh, it'd be great to just sit and write and do this. But since being like, I'm working full time, so my days, they're starting earlier and ending earlier for my work day than they used to, because my commute time is now work time. Like, I'll log in, I say it in the email, like, it comes on my phone, I better work on that. And then when I'm done, it's like, I don't want to look at a screen anymore, so I've read a little bit, but not really. I think one thing that I binged was, I was like flipping through my DVR, and I had like 3 seasons of Fear the Walking Dead on there. And I was like, I'm going to nail these. So I would just like let them play as I was doing something else. And I was like, oh, I started really getting involved in the story. Like, oh, wow, I can't believe what happened on this on this season, Like, oh, I really like that character I never thought I would like. And it's just kind of crazy, because it's like, it was a show that we watched the regular Walking Dead, but we never got into like, we watched a season or 2, and they're like, it's okay. But like, it's just been sitting on the DVR for like 3 years. And so I was just like, all right. And I kind of just burned right through all that. So that's the only thing I can think of that I binged. We've been watching just random things. We've been watching like Conan at home. like his, show, we'll tune into, what else have we been watching? Something recently. I think actually the other stuff I was thinking of, we watched previously. We just started rewatching Game of Thrones. It's like, it's fun. We know the story. We read the books. We watched the whole series. But let's just, I kind of like have those on as kind of a fun diversion.
It's a bit of a blanket, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. With May, we had to do some Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so watch that. Watch the final season of Clone Wars. Just kind of keeping up with that. But yeah, on May the 4th, I did like on my Instagram, I was like, oh, I'm going to post up a picture of every person that I have a Portroid of from that's related to Star Wars. And so I'm in the middle of like working, like, okay, let me post one up. Okay. Oh man, I just remembered this person. Like I posted up over 100 pictures that day and I didn't even get through all of them. I was like, I'm done. I am done. This is too much work, and I was like, and so I was like, that's too much. But, so I binged posting, I guess that's something, but yeah, I don't know. Just been trying to stay sane a little bit, with, but just working all the time and being in school. So I was doing classes also. So that just ended. And as soon as class ended, I finished my final yesterday morning. And the first thing is like, all these things popped in my head. Like, oh, I can start working on my book again. Oh, I got this great idea for like this video editing project I want to work on. Like, just like the creative things came back in. I was like, oh, good. Maybe I can, do something that I enjoy doing versus kind of just feeling a little bit dreading that I like another day that I can't do something, So yeah, I haven't been binging as much as people kind of think that you would or could or should, but yeah.
Right. So 2 questions. One, you mentioned Clone Wars.
Yeah.
That brought up, I did a Disney cruise a few years back.
Yeah.
It was February. It was actually the first Star Wars Day at Sea.
Okay. Yeah.
And they had the animators and the showrunners for Clone Wars.
Oh, really?
Doing talks.
That's nice.
So,
that's cool.
Yeah. Have you been on a Disney cruise?
No, we've looked at the Disney cruises and we considered them. And I think the only time we actually considered, because, we like going to the Disney parks because there's stuff to do as an adult that stimulates your mind and your like desire to like transport to another world, right? And they're fun rides, But we worried that the Disney cruise was going to be too geared to children. And the price was higher than like we've gone on like a bunch of Royal Caribbean cruises.
Yep.
And we don't drink or we don't do like adult activities really, just we don't have an interest. There's like no other thing other than we
right.
But yeah, the Disney cruise have kind of always dissuaded us because it felt a little bit geared towards kids. And then when they did the Star Wars Day, we're like, oh, well, maybe this could be for us. And then we were a little disappointed because it was only like a day. We're like, we want the whole cruise to be Star Wars themed,
Yeah.
Yeah. So you went on with the Star Wars thing was pretty good.
Yeah, I think it was the Disney Dream. I don't know. Like I like going to the Caribbean. I keep trying to convince my wife that we should move there, and she's like, "I moved from Minnesota to be near the mountains. We're not moving to the Caribbean."
Like, we're more
remotely.
Caribbean people.
We
go there on cruises. We enjoy, but yeah, we like the Pacific Ocean more than the Atlantic or the Caribbean.
Oh, I like the Pacific. I like the ocean. I like the water.
Yeah, we're missing the ocean a lot,
But you guys probably would like a Disney cruise. There's plenty of stuff to do for adults. Yeah.
Okay.
So
sure, we'll go.
They have.
Sign me up. I'm ready to go.
Sweet. We should plan a time when
anything. Let me get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. And the food's amazing. It's better than Royal Caribbean. For my 40th last year, we did a Royal Caribbean.
Yeah, I remember you were kind of trying to get a group together and do a big cruise thing. And
yeah, it didn't happen.
Hey,
it was.
Yeah.
What was that?
But you went, yeah.
Yeah, we went.
Yeah,
Allison and I went. Allison's my wife, and
I
then
know.
my
Yeah.
brother and his family went.
Okay,
So
great.
there's like 6 of us. It was
That's
great.
something. That's good.
We were supposed to go to Cuba, but like the month before, um, our wonderful chief
Mm.
said we couldn't go to Cuba.
Oh,
So then we got refunded half of our ticket cost. So
okay.
it was great. So yeah, it was fun. We got to see Mayan ruins, saw a weird animal rescue in Belize.
Okay.
I got to see my brother. Well, we'll just say that he did this a lot.
Yeah. Oh, cool, cool.
I was
Yeah.
like, we're not in Hawaii, dude.
Hang loose, man. Hang loose.
Yeah. And my 9-year-old niece was like, Mom told me I had to watch out for Dad or watch him to make sure that he's okay.
Yeah. Nice.
So, anyways, that's now the new joke when we're there with him. So, okay, second follow-up question to that one. Did Carol Baskin feed her first husband to the tigers?
You know, we decided not to go the Tiger King route.
Good for
I
you.
mean, because of the pop culture references, I understand what you're saying, and I'll say yes, she did, but because I know that. But yeah, we decided it's probably going to be it's going to feel like animal cruelty, and we don't want to participate, and so we didn't want to.
Ooh, I didn't think about it. That's the best
Yeah.
answer that I've heard yet.
Hmm.
I've heard like I just don't like pop culture, so I'm not gonna watch it.
Oh no, I love pop culture. Well, I
Oh,
don't
me
like
too.
reality TV really, but other than like reality shows like Survivor and Amazing Race, but I don't like other types of reality shows like let me follow this rich family around type of shows. I don't love those. But yeah, this one, like, there was so much hype about it. We're like, oh, we gotta watch, and then we're like, but why? I think it's gonna depress us, so we ultimately didn't go that route.
So, as a trained mental health therapist, I found it fascinating.
Yeah,
And I think that's why I actually love trash reality TV.
yeah.
Is
You can
it's
see
like,
those.
oh, tell me more.
Yeah.
Tell me more. That's great. So, all right. But congratulations, you're the second person in 7 or 8 people that I've talked to that have not watched it.
All right.
So, good job. All right, last question. This question stems from something that I realized that I wanted to do after like 3 weeks in quarantine and realized, hey, I can be kind of a dick to people. And thankfully, I have a great wife that's like being kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Um, so I apologized to somebody that I hurt back in 2013.
Okay.
And I said, I I apologize for being a jerk online, and I didn't mean well, at the time I did mean what I said, but now I feel bad about that, and will you forgive me?
Yeah. I was gonna make a joke, but yeah.
What? This is all feels.
I know.
No, go
Sorry.
ahead, make a
Those are
joke. I
feels.
make jokes all the time.
I was going to ask if it was you apologizing for being the Danimal online that was talking about being a New York guy.
That wanted to be a northeastern intellectual.
Yeah, that's what you're apologizing for doing that.
Yeah, no.
Deny it again, but we understand. No, sorry.
No, it
Sorry to
was
interrupt you.
no, this was during the Obama election when people were posting memes, and I didn't really know that I was a troll and that I really can be a troll.
Hmm.
So I was, and then I completely alienated one of my friends from college.
Yeah.
And then she married one of my good friends from college, and then I'd never talked to her. What, 2013 to 20, so 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that sucks.
Yeah.
So I'm still friends with her husband. I'm now friends with her again.
Okay,
But I
good.
asked her husband if it would be okay if I just texted her and said that I was sorry.
Yeah.
My question to you is, when was the last time you apologized or said sorry to someone?
Well, that's a tricky one because I don't remember any big apologies that I've done, which isn't great. I know I apologize all the time for small things. Like I'm someone that if I bump into a chair, I apologize to the
Yeah,
chair.
yeah, yeah.
Like, oh, sorry. I was like, oh wait, that's a chair, but I'm still sorry,
Yeah.
but, and, I'll apologize if I, do something that's a minor offense, or even if it's a big offense, I try to apologize right away.
Mm.
But there are obviously, people that I may owe apologies to. And oftentimes I'm thinking, I need to apologize to that person. And then I stop myself for like two reasons. One is, will it help them, or am I just appeasing my own sense of guilt at hurting the person?
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is, will this like bring up something bad for them and just make them feel bad? Like if and there aren't like a ton of people that it's like, oh no, I got a
Right,
a
right.
laundry list of people I need to apologize to. But there are people that it's like, yeah, I probably should apologize, or maybe they don't even think I owe them an apology, and then I come out and like, oh, I'm so sorry, and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, who knows? Or just like friendships that you let fade, and you're like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't do it, and I don't, and I haven't, and I really should. It's something that I should probably do, but I cannot even think of like a big apology where I reached out to make amends for anything, and I guess I probably should contemplate that. But yeah.
It was. This hasn't been one of the questions. You're the third person I've asked
Yeah, no, it's good.
this
It's a good
question.
question because you start thinking like, oh yeah, who should I like? I'll throw this in there. That night where I was having the real problems, where I felt I wasn't getting any oxygen, like I was like, you go through in your head like, oh, what's left undone? Like, I don't want to come back as a ghost because I, have an undone
Oh,
task, right? So like, in my mind, I was like composing like all these things, like, oh, I need to reach out to this person, this person, this person. Most of it was like thank yous for like being a good friend. Thank you for this and that. Wow, what you did really meant a lot. Like just kind of like making those contacts. In there, you're like, oh yeah, I should apologize for that person for letting our friendship like go essentially, or not trying harder on this and that. And then so I'm up all night like struggling, like, oh, this thing could actually kill me. And then of course once I'm healed, I'm like, oh yeah, great, I can get to that stuff later. That's the problem with like
yeah.
near death. Like I'm going to put it in quotes because it was probably just a fear of death versus like an actual like I might die tonight type of thing. Otherwise I would have gone to the emergency room. But in those situations, you're like, oh yeah, this is kind of an important thing. And then like after the fact, it's like, oh yeah, but I have work to do, I have this and that, and you can make a million excuses. So I think I should take up at least some of that and like thank some people that have meant something. I also didn't want to get so like melancholy and be like, oh god, I was going to die and I really thought, like, I didn't want to be like feel that like
Mm-hmm.
put that on someone also. I always feel like I'm putting things on people, even if it's not. But you're right that there should. I know you didn't even say it, but you're right that apologies can help heal something that maybe is festering somewhere else, or even in yourself.
So I think you're right. I think one of the things that helped, and again, like, I mean, there can be a narcissistic quality to this,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of a dual-edged coin. That is
Yeah.
mixing my metaphors.
Sure.
Um, but recognizing like I hurt somebody and I truly felt bad,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want to have the balls to say it to somebody, or as I tell my wife, I didn't have the vagina to tell somebody
Sure.
that
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
One of the neat things, and actually it's interesting that you brought it up too, because one of the things that I've decided to do is apologize to people that I know I have hurt, B, cut out people, or just not allow a lot of access to people that make me feel bad.
Yeah.
And not necessarily feeling bad is different than being challenged. Like, I like being challenged.
Yeah.
But feeling bad and that projection that you talked about, I think, is important to understand the difference between the two. The other thing that I've encouraged people to do, tell people in their life that they don't normally tell this to, but that they love them. So, Rick, I love you.
Oh, I love
I
you
love
too.
the fact that we are still friends and still are able to have a good conversation. We've talked for probably about an hour,
Yeah.
which is fascinating because I thought all of these would take like 10 to 15 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah, and it didn't happen, but I love the fact that we're still friends,
Yeah.
even though we
Definitely.
haven't seen each other in person for a while. So
Yeah.
I love you, and find somebody that you haven't told them that you love them. Tell them that you love them.
All right. Maybe I'll tell my wife. No, I'm just kidding. Wait a minute.
Well, let me look up some resources from some therapy out in the Brooklyn
Oh,
area.
I'm kidding, of course.
I know. So, but thank you so much for your time. I
Yeah,
appreciate
you're welcome.
it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Anything you want to promote? Anything? Websites?
Not really. I mean,
Podcasts?
the
Fun
only thing I got
things?
going on is Portroids.com or Instagram. It's Polaroid Portraits, Portroids, and I just take pictures of people and post them up and try to use it as a tool of like support. Like, hey, I like this person's thing, maybe you will too. And that's kind of where my aim is on that. But yeah, I mean, it's mostly just have fun. Have fun where you
What's
can.
interesting? What's interesting, Rick, is I think because of my interactions with you is part of the reason why I'm able to do this.
Oh, good. Good.
Because you're one of the few people that just took an experiment and took a risk and had an amazing experience. And
Yeah, it's been great.
I've been able to talk to a variety of people that I don't think I would have talked to unless if I had made an intention of doing it. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Rick.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, I'm going to stop recording and then we'll chat
All right.
for a few minutes. Hold on.